Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. And before the main live show starts, we are currently joined by Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good.
Very good to have you. Yesterday's
Thank you.
Pre-show started, and because I was running a bit late, I thought I'll just start the pre-show, because otherwise I'll be in the middle of doing something else when someone will come, and I'll just have a little bit of dead air. So I started the show. About a minute later, Ranty joins. I thought, oh, brilliant, great, guest. Ranty will say something. And he sat in silence for 5 minutes. All you can hear is me making coffee in the background while Ranty sits there and says nothing. I was like, you've got the ear of the audience now. But, yeah. So you said
that's
just
funny.
before I hit record. Go on, Paul.
I'm sorry. I talked over top of you. I said, I came in late yesterday. Yeah, after listening to Ballbusters, and I think John said this in passing, either in Ballbusters or in somewhere other else. I can't remember exactly. And I was trying to jump on Saturday. I don't know if you saw me pop in on the Discord server or not, but we were scrambling all over the place, and my wife was getting her hair done, so I thought I'd try to jump on while I could. But the concept of time, and this has been brought up on the show by different people. Actually, you know what? Hang on. Actually, I'm gonna have to jump off a second. You may have to fill up some dead air for a second. My phone's ringing. Oh, never mind. It went to voicemail. Okay, I'll call him back in a second. But the concept of time, and is time and I'm not talking about the convention of how we measure it or anything like that. I'm actually talking about the experience of time that we go through every day. Is that something that's real or a construct of our mind? And the reason I bring that up is because you probably heard somebody say on the show in the past of we're always in the now,
Right.
And trying to unpack what that means. I know there's no real scientific way to kind of analyze it in one sense of the word, but there could be some ways we could approach it philosophically. And there's a guy named William Lane Craig, and he's talked about there's two kind of concepts of time. I don't. There's one is A theory, one is B theory, and I don't know which one's which, but I can describe what each one means in the sense that, one theory, everything is all of time is always present, which means he kind of calls it like a yardstick. Like they say, the beginning of time is the 1 inch mark, and the end of time is the 36 inch mark. So, but it still exists in kind of one frame of reference. And kind of if you step back, you can see all of time, in that linear fashion, but it's all always present. And that's one theory of time. And the other theory of time is that he calls it temporal becoming, which means we're experiencing this moment in time currently, but the past moment, like everything I just said, is in the past now. It's gone, but I'm kind of going into the future. The word he used, like the temporal becoming, it's becoming the future. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but you said this wasn't going to be one of those conventions, but they're all going to be conventions, aren't they?
Well, the reason I bring this up, I understand what you're saying. It's a convention, but if that person that said this is right, then everything is in the present moment. Do you see what I mean? Like, past is the present as well as the future is the present. Do you understand? I mean, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, how did you like John's description of it? So his I'm probably going to butcher the paraphrasing, but I'll give it a go. It's time is the conceptual medium in which all things in the what we call universe take place. It's just a conceptual medium. how you base that conceptual medium, either historically or futuristically. I don't know if that's a good way of describing what you've just described in summary, but that's kind of what you're saying. The stuff that has preceded the now and the stuff that may come to pass in the future are seen as a linear. I can't remember the exact words you used, but I got the point you were making. You're saying you see a line with the now being obviously the now, and then stuff behind and stuff in the forward, right?
Right.
Well,
right, and in that. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, well, but neither of those two things are in existence. But then you get into, well, I agree with the people who say you're only ever going to experience the now. You can't experience what's past, and you can't experience the future until it is now. So the only thing you're left with is to track the passage of that time, and then you're going to look to things like celestial bodies and their patterns to track those cycles. But again, you're taking a light in the sky and coming up with a concept that gives you a tracking of the passage of the past, and a way to predict, at least in a time span, when the future will come. I.e., we know when next Thursday is, roughly, in terms of how many hours will pass, because we have a construct that we can detail that. But what is an hour? It's derived from the sun's path, right? So what you're really saying is how much of the passage of the sun will we experience, as opposed to This...
Well, but
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I know that. I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, let's say, this is just obviously a mind experiment more than reality experiment. But what if there was no sun? What if it was always daylight? Would time be passing? Would we be experiencing it in that sense of the word? I mean, I guess we could still use a clock to determine the passage of time and say, well, so many minutes or hours from now we can do such and such, or this will happen, or we can plan for this. But I mean, I guess the real question is time real? Not in conventional how we measure it, but I guess, and then what is the nature of that? I guess that's my ultimate question, because I think John said something, time is immaterial. I think that's the reason I brought that up. I thought he said that as well. It is not a material thing that you can measure. Well, not measure, but I guess that's a bad word. You can't say you can't measure time, because in a way we do. We put hours and hands and stuff like that on it. I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just trying to pick this out, and I think it's related to the ontological primitives. I think it's related to that. I think you can't get away from it. I think they're all interconnected at some level, because if time and space had a beginning, or if things had a beginning, that means there's definitely a past, but if there is no beginning, then how can you really, I guess, in a way, say that there is a past at some point? I don't know. I'm just trying to think out loud more than anything.
There is, but you're just not experiencing
I guess ultimately,
you're never going to experience it. So you can document it, but you're never going to experience it again. It has gone to pass. However, this is a difficult thing to phrase, isn't it, without saying the word time all the time?
Yeah.
But he's right. It is immaterial. It's immaterial because it's just a construct. It's a conceptual thing that you're trying to say, well, is that conceptual thing real? Well, no. It's a concept.
But I mean, can you say that it's not real?
I just did.
I know, but I'm actually just trying to analyze, because we experience that. Well, we experience the present always, but we have memories of the past that we can project into the future. So, does that still mean that, okay, I guess the real question is is the past a real thing? I guess that's a better way to say it. I mean, we experienced it, but does that make it real, or is it just only? Obviously, it's probably only in our memory. Exactly. So I guess in that sense, it would be immaterial in that sense of the word.
Well, all of the things that are either going to give you a way of passing on that information, which is probably why you're saying it's tied to the ontological primitives, but they're going to be constructed from memory by somebody either typing it or photographing it or whatever they use to document that moment. But is the photograph real? Yes. Is the memory real? Well, that's arguable, but let's just say for this example, yes. But is the actual occurrence still real? Well, no, that it's no longer a real thing. It's been and gone. Therefore, it's not real anymore. It's just something that is to be described or has been documented. But then, in order to have that passed between fellow men, you need information in the first instance. In other words, to even detail that which has passed history, you would need two intelligent beings to be able to detail it or converse via another means, like writing it down. But that doesn't make the writing down of it doesn't make it suddenly real. Yeah, it happened, but it's not the now. It's not suddenly a real thing. You know, you're reifying history by asking that question if the answer was to be yes.
Yeah, you actually said something that my thoughts were going to, is like, so really the past is just information at this point, because it's come, it's gone, it's not a tangible thing anymore. It becomes immaterial, so it's more just information, so to speak.
Exactly.
You know, we can yeah. Huh. Good conversation.
It is a good conversation. These are, conversations, philosophical or otherwise, that I've never had before. So it's a mind stretch, right? Hence me struggling to find the correct terminology for a lot of this stuff, because it's not a conversation I've had before.
Yeah. Well, and something P said yesterday, and I'm like, dude, we had a good conversation with P, and at least I felt like I did with P, and even Anon after the show yesterday. But he get on to the terminology about why are we philosophizing and why are we doing all this stuff or whatever, and I go like, you need to step back for a second. The problem with science is that they don't necessarily do good philosophy. And really, if you bear down philosophy to its bare bones, it's trying to think things through, really think deeply on things, and really analyze the concepts. And to do that, you got to define terms too. You got to have concrete definitions when you're trying to think things through. If they're abstract too much, then you can lose something in the process. So to do good so-called science, you got to have good philosophy in the process. I mean, that's why the logical fallacies play such a hard role in this. That's philosophical concepts, really. Trying to determine how you're thinking about things and how you're evaluating things. So philosophy you can't get away from, no matter what you do. They call it I think they said, was it the queen of the sciences, so to speak, because it's like it's needed across the board. Even in theological terms, you need good philosophy, because you can't even the concept of God, you can't think through properly without good philosophy. So I like thinking like this. I like talking and working it through. So trying to figure it out. So my first idea of abstract objects came from a philosopher, and he talked about that. I was like trying to figure out what abstract objects are. Are they real? Are they not real? What I mean by real is, are they true? Are they not true? Are they something? Do we use them? Numbers would fall in the category of abstract objects. They can be expressed in multiple different ways, like a number 2 on a computer screen, or you write the number 2 down on a piece of paper, but that doesn't mean those things are the number 2, but it's something we use as a concept to try to describe or try to say what this is, or the reality of the world that we're looking at.
That's why you've got to define terms, though, if you're describing, as you put it, a number 2 on a computer screen, and the one party's talking about the binary code that makes up the lights that appear on the monitor, and you're talking about the value that is attributed to a group with 2 things in it, then you're at cross purposes until you define terms.
Right, exactly. And that's something I brought up to Anon yesterday after the show. I go, because he kept talking about the bird's nest is natural, and I go, and I had to stop and think, and I was like, the bird's nest is not the information about the bird's nest. It's just a bird's nest. But the information that the bird used to construct the bird's nest is different. It's not the same thing. They're completely two separate things. Like the blueprint of a building is not the building. And my idea of, if I want to do something, is not the words that I'm using to convey that idea either. They're separate. There's that. I guess you know what I'm driving at.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're driving at. While you're saying it, the cogs are turning in my head in terms of how people reify models.
Right, right. A model is a concept, but that doesn't mean the concept is real or factual. And once it, or not factual, but how do you say that? It's just a concept.
Yeah, well, if you look
But
at
a
reification,
concept,
if you look at reification in the dictionary or in Wiki or whatever, you Google search it and it comes up, it'll say words to the effect of the map is not the terrain. You're
right,
saying the
right,
house, the
right,
structure is not the blueprint. Same thing.
right, exactly. And I think that's where what Anand was doing wrong. And I think that's where, again, thinking things through deeply, he's not able to kind of pull those two apart. But there's ramifications of that. You know, when you say like the thoughts in my brain are not my neurons, you know, when you say that, that means there's more to you than your neurons. So it has an implication. You know, means there's something more to you than the neurons in your brain, you know, that are firing. And that there's an implication behind that when you take the next step. You know, that means, am I really my body? You know, or am I just something else inhabiting or controlling a body? You know?
Yeah, I thought about it after
What
the
is that
show
other
as well.
thing? So,
In terms of, I don't know where you got in terms of progress with the non, but that was kind of what I was driving at when I was saying, well, what you're describing now, Paul, is information again. So when we were describing it, I'm sure the conversation was hinging around the supernatural versus natural, and Anon's argument is, well,
right.
the bird's nest is natural. Well, yeah, that's true, but the information used to create it isn't natural, and you can't show it, weigh it, measure its calorie count, test its spin. You know, it doesn't have any physicality to it, so it falls into the category of supernatural. But that's quite a large step. While I'm saying it to him, or while I'm getting frustrated with it, I'm thinking this is so simple, you know. And even 10th Man saying, look, you're violating the law of non-contradiction. You're holding two things at once, and it's obvious to me, it's obvious to you, it's obvious to everyone, but not Anon. And at the time, all I could do was get frustrated with that. But after the fact, I've thought about it and gone, well, actually, this is quite a big step to realising that. It's not just simple. It's not just as simple as saying, yeah, just my thoughts stake out, isn't it? I think, therefore I am. Right? So that's quite a deep philosophical thing to wrap your head around if it's not something you've encountered before. And, you know, further down the line, we're now piecing it together with John's help with some of the experimental data that is, you know, driving humanity forward in terms of the computer age, but we're only getting there because we're starting to figure out what information actually is. I shouldn't say the computer age, it is actually
Right.
called the information age, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's funny, I mean, I don't want to get too deep, go down this rabbit hole too deep, but this is why one reason I keep coming back to the scripture, you know, is, you know, in the beginning, God, you know, he said, you know, he spoke, you know, and I thought, if you think about what a word is, it's just conveying information, you know, and so in a sense, the world came into being through information, you know. So even then, it kind of you're circling back on it, you know, you're coming back to that again, you know, and it's just interesting. It's just, you know, this has been good for me because it's helped me to reevaluate some things I've thought about, and, you know, relook at old things that I've considered before, and, you know, kind of re-strengthen something that I, you know, looked at before. So this has been really good for me.
Do you watch JLB?
Who?
Maybe not. John LeBon.
I've heard of him.
No worries.
But I don't know if I've ever watched him.
Sure. One of the things that he talked about in the last 12 months, which I thought was quite surprising, because it had never occurred to me that people didn't do this. It had come up once before, about 10 years ago, where this idea was put forth on a TV show. So I'll start with that. Somebody was detailing how one of the characters was just talking to their microwave, and everyone else around them thought it was weird. And at the time, although I didn't talk to my microwave, the concept they were putting across was certainly something that I did. Anyway, many years later, John LeBon started talking about it, but giving it a lot more meat, or putting a lot more meat on the bones, which is talking about having an internal dialogue. And some of these things that we're discussing now, are things that I've pondered on in what John LeBon calls an internal dialogue. So it's like you're having a conversation with somebody, but there's nobody there. You're just hashing out ideas, almost like you're having a dialogue, two-way, but there's only one of you, so it's a monologue. But it isn't. It's not one long rant in your own mind. You're hashing out ideas with yourself. And what John LeBon pointed out is there's very few people that actually do this. And it occurred to me that that's what the gag was that I didn't get with the microwave. So the person that's talking to their microwave is essentially expressing verbally, with volume, their internal dialogue. And the people who are around her see it and think it's funny because they don't do it. They're not hashing things out in their mind. They don't do that. So I thought it was quite interesting when some of these concepts come up because I've already considered them. I haven't got a clue. I'm not pretending that I understand the answers here or have a great philosophical mind, but I'm just saying some of these ideas, to some degree, I've already hashed out in my own mind. I've had the internal dialogue about them. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, there's I forget who said it, but there's a quote that said, "A life unexamined is not worth living." And if you don't really, and I've tried to say this multiple times on this show, worldviews have consequence, and if you don't think through those consequences, you've not really done a good analysis of your own worldview, so it's along the same lines you're saying, the implications of that are huge, if you don't really stop and step back and think about it. And I'm right there with you. I agree with you. And even you've been able to have a dialogue with yourself says something about yourself, because how can neurons have dialogues with themselves? Just even making that statement says something. It's saying something about your nature and who you are as a person, as a being, so to speak. So.
This is it. If you're not pondering these things, this is the question that it left me with. If you're not pondering these things, what exactly is going through your mind when you've got, a period when you're not physically concentrating intensely on something, which, let's be honest, is most of the time. How often?
Exactly.
When you get into your phone call or whatever you do next, you'll be intensely concentrating on whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and you'll be going through the method that you've probably employed several times, or if not hundreds, thousands of times before. So in some way you'll get into autopilot. You'll tailor what you're doing towards your specific candidate and all those things. But during that process, you're never going to have an internal dialogue other than to formulate the process that is being, honed towards the customer. So it's not really an entire internal dialogue. You're just saying, what do I need to do next? How shall I approach this? Well, I suppose it is an internal dialogue. At least it would be for me. I'm kind of contradicting myself here. This isn't a great example.
No, I get what you're saying, and it just makes me think of someone that's been on the panel saying, "I don't let my thinking get in the way." And I'm going like, really? You know what I mean? It's like, really? You don't let your thinking get in the way?
Yeah.
My Lily's wanting something. I don't know what she's.
Right.
Starting
in about 5 minutes.
Let me mute. She's wanting something.
No worries. We're starting in about 5 minutes, so there's a little bit of dead air. At least it's not right at the start of the show like it was yesterday with Ranty. He might even show his face.
Oh yeah, Lily. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
I thought you'd have more dead air. I thought I was feeling dead air. I was just rambling to myself.
Go ahead, just ramble. I'm going to try to see what she wants.
No worries. Can't remember the ramble I was on. Oh, Ranty, yeah. Hopefully he'll show his face. We shall see. Both him and Sleeping Warrior have sent to turn up for the first show. At least they did in the last couple of shows.
I felt bad for Ranty. I think it was last weekend or weekend before last, where he was talking about having to give up his research, and I'd understand that to a point. If you're not making any money on this, it's hard to continue, and that's what makes it so hard to do anything. Like me, I've got to work, I've got to take care of a child, so for me to go out and spend hours doing research is almost a moot point, because I can't. Would love to, but I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's his own fault, but by the same token, he threw himself into it with such vigour that he lost track of the work he wasn't doing. That was the bottom line. And no, you're not going to get a massive return out going out there with your camera. Yeah, it's extremely valuable, and yeah, I'm going to credit him and praise him till the cows come home. That goes without saying, because it's great work. Does it reward in terms of a normal job? No, definitely not. So, it is a pity. But on the other hand, there was or has been various stages where Auntie's just gone, I want to chuck it in the air. During those conversations, I've said to him, no, take a step back. When your enthusiasm returns, if you say nothing, do nothing, and then your enthusiasm returns, you can carry on where you left off. No one will notice the difference. Whereas if you declare that your feelings at the time, which often change, people hold you to them, and it's just not worth your aggravation. In other words, if you're pissed off with whatever you're doing, this goes for every YouTuber, not Flat Earth specifically. Just walk away for a bit. Don't shut down your channel and throw your dummy out of the pram and make a goodbye video, only to think 2 weeks later, I just shut down my channel and now I want to make another video.
Well, and I was thinking about that too. Flat Earth is not going anywhere. None of this is going anywhere. I mean, it's been around. It's been here. It's not stopped being here. It's just like you said, have to maybe take a break, come back, and revisit it again later.
Right. Gather your thoughts, or earn your money. Most importantly, you've got to keep yourself paid for first and foremost prior to Flat Earth.
Exactly. I'm going to go change a diaper, so you have to fill some more dead air.
There's only a couple of minutes. We might get a few people join. Chocolate Say intends to join just as I start the intro for the live show. We shall see. A couple of people asked me for the link in advance via email. I do send it to them, but they seldom actually join. Like, they've got good intentions when they email me direct, and when they get a reply, and like, oh yeah, I'll try and join, but it's too full. Okay, yeah, just let me know. I'll send you an email before the show starts. Hello to everyone in chat. Hello, Nick. Hello, JS. Hello, Ed Slice. Rebel Rob TV. Thanks for being here. Keen, all of you, as the live show's not actually started yet. Hey, John Watson. Seconds and we'll get this show on the road. Long chunk of dead air.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll try to help fill it.
No. It's because I'm pressing buttons. I'm struggling to do two things at once. We're starting now anyway, so.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Paul, 10th Man, and Ranty Flat Earth. Very good to have you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good morning, hello. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Not as yet.
Hey, Chris. Should I say,
Hey,
dun
Nathan.
dun dun, Red's rhetoric?
You got me.
Any signs of axial rotation? Oop. Any signs of axial rotation?
No.
No, not at all.
Hey, Arwin. Hey, Brenda.
Hello. I'm not
Hello.
Brenda, by the way.
Hey, Brenda.
Morning.
Good morning. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, brilliant. What's your scientific evidence of gravity, Brenda?
Brenda has continual evidence, even, apparently.
I don't know what you mean.
Enlighten us, Brenda. Enlighten us.
About what?
Scientific
About this
evidence-
scientific proof for gravity.
Oh, you know what that is. It's a Cavendish.
Not scientific evidence. It's not got
Sure
an
it is.
observed phenomena. Doesn't have
You
an
don't
independent-
understand the scientific method, Nathan.
Nah, the independent variable is not gravity in that experiment.
There's no observed phenomena. Nowhere
The
do you
observed
ever...
phenomenon
You
is
keep
the
talking
movement
over
of
Brenda.
the
You
balls.
keep talking over me. What's going on? There's no observed phenomena. There is nowhere on Earth you will ever observe mass attracting mass. It is conjured within the Cavendish experiment itself. There is no observed phenomena. If you believe
That's
that there...
just not true.
You're still interrupting me. If you believe there is a naturally occurring event where mass attracts mass, please can you show us where this occurs?
Yeah, in the Cavendish experiment.
Yeah, so as I said, it's not a naturally occurring phenomena. It's conjured in the experiment. It's not an experiment. If it was, it would have a natural phenomena. It doesn't. It's conjured in the test.
Yeah, there's no conjuring in the test. The natural phenomenon
deduction.
is in the test.
No,
Sorry.
it's
Right,
deduction.
it's in the
I'll say it
experiment.
again. You ignored what I've said. If it's a natural phenomena, show me where in nature, don't say it's in the test, in nature, where mass attracts mass.
Yeah, in the Cavendish experiment.
If you say it a third time, I will kick you out. I've said it now twice. This will be the third time. Where in nature, not in the test, but in nature, the observed natural phenomena, where in nature is mass attracting mass?
Aren't all tests conducted in nature?
Sorry, that's a question for me. I'm asking you
Yeah.
a question. I'll ask it
Yeah,
a fourth
the
time.
the
Don't
test
ask
is
me a
conducted-
question, Brenda. Answer mine. Where in nature is mass attracting mass?
Experiments are conducted in the natural
I'm
world.
going to kick you out.
Nathan.
I'm going to kick you out. You're not answering my question. This is the fifth time I've asked it. I'll ask
I
it a fifth
did
time.
answer your question.
No, you didn't. In
Yes.
nature. That's the key
Experiments
word.
are done in the natural world, Nathan.
No. Where in the natural world does this occur? Not in an experiment, because that is conjured in the test. If it doesn't happen in the natural world and only happens in the test, it's not a natural phenomena. So I'll ask a sixth time. Where in nature, not in an experiment that's been built by a man, in nature, do we observe mass attracting mass?
Experiments are done in the natural world, Nathan. I don't
Right, let's
know
kick
why
her
you
out.
don't understand
Bye-bye.
that.
Piss off.
You're an idiot.
Get out. As soon as I was on the eject button, she started using ad hom and calling me an idiot. I'm not an idiot. There is no naturally observed phenomena. There is no instance ever where we will observe mass attracting mass. She's done it 6 times. I'm just not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to have 45 minutes of her saying it's natural because it's in a scientific experiment, which is not scientific or an experiment. Hey, Rebel.
I've done Cavendish. It didn't work. you will see some slight movement always. In every video I've ever seen of anyone attempting it, whether it's Slice Barcane or somebody else, you will see some slight movement. It's simply due to the wind, or not wind, but the air current of the room. When you get next to the apparatus, it is so sensitive that it will move. But then they'll make up some excuse and say, oh, well, yes, but it's the difference in the oscillation. So the increase in oscillation is mass attracting mass. Well, no, it's just the increase in airflow as you put the two big weights or whatever you're using as your counterweights around the device. Last thing I'll say is Brenda can go into Jose's and act that way, and she won't get called out. And she doesn't have to answer those kind of tough questions on Jose's show. Thanks.
Well, I just get tired of it. 6 times is enough for her to give the same wrong answer and ignore the bit about it being in the natural world. You know, just intolerable behaviour. Just circle jerker. 6 times is just intolerable as far as I'm concerned.
Well done, Nathan.
The way I would,
Shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez for the super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it. Hey, Anthony.
I would approach it with her maybe next time.
Can you hear us, Anthony?
Hey.
Oh.
Hello.
I want to do a quick presentation if I can, but I don't want to take too much time. So if there's a lull, shout me.
Okay,
if there's
well,
not
I'll
a lull,
rattle
I'll
through
just
the
sit here
rest.
off mute.
Yeah, no worries. I'll rattle through the rest of the housekeeping, and then hopefully, unless anybody objects, we can crack on with whatever you've got.
Mic check.
Any evidence of the? Hey, was that Rebel?
No, that was chocolate.
Hey, chocolate.
Mic check.
Yeah.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we do.
can hear
We
you.
haven't heard anything from Rebel yet.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. You're just a bit quiet. Let's turn you up, Rebel. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Music Man as well. Hello, Music Man.
Hi, good afternoon all.
Hello. Very good to have you.
Thank you.
Distance to the sun? Anybody? Anybody at all?
There is no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
Oh yeah. What about evidence of a gas pressure existing next to a vacuum without any container?
Not possible.
None whatsoever.
Are you saying then that
No.
there's a container here on Earth?
The necessary antecedent to have gas pressure. In order to have gas pressure, it must press on something. That's what gas pressure is. So by virtue of us having gas pressure, I can happily assert that it's definitely pressing on something. Now, the claim is that...
Press on all the time.
Sorry, go on.
Would the Earth's surface be count as one side of the container?
Could count as one side of the container.
Okay.
What about the top, though? Because there's an assertion from the globe head religion that the top, where it's needing to also press upon something, is expanding in all directions, not just down. That it's not pressing on a container, but actually pressing on a vacuum, which is nonsense. It wouldn't press on a vacuum, it would disperse into it.
Perhaps like the general consensus here with buoyancy and density, perhaps the air molecules and atomic molecules within gases do the same thing. Hence why there's more nitrogen closer to the Earth's surface, and why air pressure is closer to the Earth's surface than it is higher in altitude.
Oh, that's a gradient.
Yeah, we know we've got a
That's
pressure
in after.
gradient. Yeah, pressure gradient. So what?
So we do have air pressure then?
Yeah, we do. So what? Does that prove that space is there and the sky is a vacuum? No, because as I say, if it was, the gas would fill it. It wouldn't press on it, it would disperse into it.
How do we have air pressure on the surface of the Earth then?
So we've just agreed we do have it, right? You agree we have air pressure?
Of course.
Well, so who cares? We both in agreement, we have it. You're saying, well, how does it come into existence in the first instance? Well, who cares?
Yeah.
We both agree that it's there, so who cares?
In order for gas pressure to exist, there has to be a container first.
It's like
and
arguing
a container
about...
is defined by being closed off in all directions, or not one side.
You don't need a container just for air pressure. You
Oh,
need,
really?
you need a
Can you show
container
us?
for compressed
Oh, no,
gas.
no, there's a claim.
Now, if they're gonna
No,
oppose
hold
it to a
on.
vacuum,
Claim,
you
I
do.
heard a claim. You don't need a container to have air pressure.
No.
Do you want to show us that?
But where is the Earth's container?
Don't ask me a question. You've just made a statement. Now it's time to back your statement with evidence.
You're
According to you,
making a
don't talk. Listen. You've just made a statement. Don't need a container. Don't talk. Listen. You've just made a statement that we don't need a container to have pressure. Now I'd like you to back it with evidence. Demonstration of your assertion, please. Show us gas pressure without a container.
Breathe.
Yeah, that would be me breathing gas pressure, the necessary antecedent being something to press upon. So, no, that's not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. That's your fundy belief in a sky vacuum. So you're saying because I'm breathing, we have a sky vacuum.
I didn't say we had a sky vacuum, no.
Well, so far your belief seems to be the only
So what are you trying to prove here?
I'm saying that there is no container, yet we have air pressure.
So you are trying to prove there's no container? So you are trying to prove a fundy sky vacuum with no container, no barrier? That's what you're trying to prove?
I've not used the word vacuum once, that's you.
Oh, right. So what's the sky again? There's no barrier. What? Just never-ending air getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner?
Like I said previously, perhaps it's down to the weight of the atomic structure of each gas individually. This is why air pressure is higher towards the surface of the Earth.
And what's it pressing on at the top? I heard. What's it pressing on at the top? It doesn't just expand down. It expands in all directions. That's what gas does. So at the top, what's it pressing on?
A lot of gas escapes out of the atmosphere each day.
I'll say my question again. What is it pressing on at the top?
It's not pressing on anything.
Oh, well, then it would disperse rapidly into the lower pressure system. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy would increase. It would disperse into the vacuum. If it's not pressing on something, then it's not pressure.
Well, if you're quoting laws, like the second law of thermodynamics, you can't just cherry pick the laws which suit your own bias, can you?
Sorry, it's not cherry picking. Sorry, do you think quoting a natural law, a law of nature, is cherry picking?
How is a law of nature written by a man?
Sorry, you still haven't answered my question. What's it pressing on at the top in your belief that there is nothing to press upon? What's it pressing on? Well, how is it pressure if it's got nothing to press on?
Because some presses on the surface of the Earth and the rest escapes. If all the gas which was made each day by the biomass of the Earth's surface was not escaping, then the air pressure on the Earth would be exponentially increasing each day, and we'd be crushed by now.
What a load of nonsense.
Well, if there's a container, like you're trying to say that it is, the air pressure would be increasing.
Why?
Because all biomass produces nitrogen every day.
Yeah, we've got a nitrogen cycle. You know, the nitrogen cycle. Sorry, excuse me.
Yes,
sorry, stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Why are you rumpusing the shit out of me? So, stop talking. So, we have a nitrogen cycle. Were you unaware of this? Did you think it just constantly increased?
If it was a container and gas was being exerted...
Don't repeat your stupid shit! Answer me!
The pressure would increase.
You're ignoring... This is the second time you've done it. You've ignored my question the first time. What's it pressing on the top? Now you're asking me a question. You've made a statement that nitrogen would make us all get crushed. Now you're talking over me. Yeah? Listen to my question. Don't rumpus the shit out of me. Why are you rumpusing me? You're just being outright rude now. I am talking. Do not start talking until I finish my statement. We have a nitrogen cycle. Your assertion was such that the nitrogen levels are constantly increasing. That is incorrect. Now, don't ask me a question. Address what I've just said.
Go back to your first question then.
You've made a try and bloody listen. You've made a statement. Now you're talking. That means you're not listening because you're now talking, aren't you? I'll say it again for a second time. You made a statement that we'd all get crushed by the nitrogen. No, we've got a nitrogen cycle.
If the nitrogen which is put into the Earth's atmosphere every day did not escape, then the air pressure on Earth would increase.
Fuckwit, are you going to completely ignore what I've just said and then repeat your bullshit claim demolished by the fact that we have a nitrogen cycle? Are you dumb?
Part of the cycle. Okay, what's the last stage of the nitrogen cycle?
Why are you now asking me a question? What has the penny just dropped that your stupid assertion is meaningless and negated by the fact that we have a cycle? Yeah? Has the penny dropped? You're going to start asking me questions, are you, dumbass, while you assert that nitrogen would crush us all? No, bonehead.
You don't understand the nitrogen cycle.
You didn't even know it existed till 20 seconds ago. You told us we'd all be crushed. You idiot.
You're making assumptions.
Sorry, you just told us we'd all be crushed by the constant increase of nitrogen. If it wasn't escaping, now you're rumpusing me. Now you are rumpusing me. Keep rumpusing me. I'm going to start kicking you out. This is just nonsense. Every time I demolish some fucking fundy's argument, they rumpus the living shit out of me while I simultaneously get told in the comments that I'm rumpusing them. Now listen to me, you stupid retard. You listen to me, you dumb fuck. You think nitrogen will crush us. I point out that we've got a cycle and you immediately rumpus the shit out of me. And then when the penny finally drops that it wouldn't, you start asking me questions. Yeah? And people wonder why I get annoyed with you stupid, dumb fundies. No, it wouldn't crush us, dumb fuck. We've got a cycle. Now don't rumpus me. Acknowledge your own stupidity.
Triggered.
No, I'm annoyed with the stupid fuckwit fundy that makes a claim that we'd all get crushed by the nitrogen until I point out 3 times that we've got a cycle. Then when he finally acknowledges it in one breath, he moves on instantly asking me a question and then rumpuses it where I point out that the penalty's finally dropped. Your point's void, you stupid idiot.
A stupid idiot?
Yeah, you are a stupid idiot. You've made a claim that we'd all get crushed by the nitrogen. Nonsense! Just an idiot who didn't realise we had a cycle of that gas.
You assume I don't realise.
Oh, the person who asserted that it would crush us because of the constant increase, I'm assuming that he's made that statement, am I? No, you stupid retard. You did make that statement. You are an idiot, and all you will do while I point this out is rumpus the living shit out of every word I say.
You've not let me speak for the last
10
minutes.
Because you're dumb, and I'm tired of listening to you and your stupid shit about nitrogen that would squash us, because you're an idiot. So don't talk when I'm pointing out your stupidity. Accept it. Have some humility, you stupid, dumb retard. So nitrogen wouldn't crush us then, would it? Because there's a cycle. You're going to acknowledge this, you stupid retard. When you acknowledge it, we'll move on to the other question you didn't answer, you stupid retard. We don't get crushed by nitrogen because there's a cycle. Now, once you've acknowledged it, we'll go back to what this gas is pressing on at the top.
I will not acknowledge that there is a cycle which...
There is.
The nitrogen disappear.
There is. If you won't acknowledge it, get the fuck out, you stupid retard. Done with you like I'm done with Brenda. If you won't acknowledge it, you're a fundy twat who's got a religious belief. And your fundy, stupid, fuckwit belief has led you to believe that nitrogen would crush us if there was the necessary antecedent of a container, which there absolutely must be for us to have gas pressure. Telling us that we'd be crushed is a demonstration of your stupidity. Not acknowledging it is a demonstration that you have no humility. Get the fuck out!
Where's the container around Jupiter?
Container on Jupiter. It's another. Is Jupiter a gas? Is Jupiter a gas?
Mars, there's a container
we
around
can see
Jupiter.
Gas on
Excuse me.
telescope.
Is Jupiter, in your fundy religious belief, a gas?
We can see gas clouds on Jupiter.
Jupiter
telescope.
a gas?
Where is Jupiter?
It's a planet. It's a gas giant.
Oh, so it's a gas in your fundy belief. In your fundy belief, it's a gas, is it? So it's a gas like Earth.
It's not
violating. I haven't finished.
Hey, shut
I'm
up,
speaking
corn
slowly
bunny
because you're a
asshole.
dumb fuck also.
Piss off.
Oh yeah, I'm tired of dumb fucks. You're one of them, Pete. That's why I'm speaking slowly, because I understand implicitly that you're retarded, and I must speak slowly, otherwise you won't get the point. Yeah? So, a gas hovering in a vacuum, violating a law of nature, that's what you think, is it, Fundy? Why isn't the gas dispersing into the vacuum?
I don't know, but I'm saying Jupiter has gas and we don't see a container around it.
Yeah, so why isn't it dispersing into your Fundy belief in the sky vacuum, which can't possibly exist? Yeah, you're undoing your own bloody religion with this statement, you stupid idiot. So you're saying that light in the sky violates a law of nature, Pete. So that light in the sky that you've never been to, never checked, haven't got the slightest idea what it is, what it does, how it operates. You're saying your Fundy belief in what it is violates a law of nature.
We can see it. We can make some observations by looking at it with
and
the
you can
telescope,
assume
like it has clouds.
Yeah, and you assume it's violating a law of nature. You assume it's a gas in a vacuum, just hovering there without any containment, violating a law of nature. That's what you think. That's stupid.
We look at it and it's there.
Yeah, you look at it, it's there, and you say, with no proof, no evidence, having never been there, checked it, or investigated it in any way physically, you say it's violating a law of nature. It's a gas in a vacuum. That's just ridiculous. Stupid. You say it's a gas. Well, why isn't it dispersing into the vacuum then?
Pete, where's your evidence?
I think it is dispersing into the vacuum.
Oh, well, how is it there then? Why is it still light? Why is it still a light then? Why is it
You can't
dispersed?
tell what gas exists somewhere by a telescope. What?
It's got a sniffoscope. He can smell the gas. That's what he does.
You can tell that you can see a cloud with the telescope.
So
You
you've
can't
decided
tell
that
what
Jupiter's a
gas
cloud.
exists someplace by using a telescope. How is it even taken into account? How is it measuring anything? How does a telescope measure gas?
You can tell what a cloud is with the telescope, and the cloud is
outta here.
made of gas.
Oh, is it?
Sorry, it can't be a gas, P.
Oh, it is.
No, it can't be. That violates a law of nature. That's why I said it twice, slowly, just for you, whilst addressing you. It can't be a gas because it would disperse into the vacuum, P.
Right. Nathan, can you present me for a second?
Well, I've got Anthony, who's also asked, waiting really patiently for us to get through housekeeping. It's been the longest housekeeping for a long time while someone's waiting to do a presentation, typically. Let's rattle through the others. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
Any evidence of the R value?
No.
Anthony, are you ready to present?
Nope.
Doesn't reply, then you'll get your chance first, Darwin.
Yay. Okay, it was very short.
He's on mute on Skype, so yeah. Go ahead, Darwin.
All right. Yeah, it was. I made a little sketch here of a little gas pressure chamber with different gases in it that have a gradient, if you see, noted by the color. Although gas normally doesn't have a color, I portrayed it with color. So outside of this tank here with a lock on it, it is actually in a vacuum chamber that's completely vacuous. So in that container, in the vacuum chamber, with the gases, a gradient will set in. But then, as soon as the container becomes bigger, by unlocking it on the picture of the right, immediately the gas launches itself into the vacuum chamber, and then as it finds an equilibrium, it will, with the same gases, form a new gradient, but divided up in the available space. That's what happens.
Sure. The only thing I'd critique is to say that when you say immediately, well, at whatever pace the molecules can escape at whatever given rate, rapidly would be a much better
Very
word.
rapidly.
Immediately, not so good. Hey, CGI Ranty.
Well, very, very rapidly.
Hold on, we've got two Ranties. Hey, CGI Ranty.
Oh, he's
Maybe not. Just come in to say hello. That's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. The gas would fill the space. Quite right, Darwin.
Right, and then a gradient again would set in.
Yeah.
Also,
enough time.
with the available gases.
Right, the heaviest gas would go to the bottom, the lightest to the top. Right, absolutely.
That was my,
nice.
Darwin, this is too simple. You're gonna have to complicate it for the ballers to understand.
It is simple stuff, but sometimes you have to do that. Are you there, Anthony? You still not back? Kind of wish I hadn't had to do housekeeping now. Oh, there he is. Go on, Paul.
I was just wondering. I still haven't figured out how in a vacuum, out of hydrogen in a vacuum, a gas in a vacuum can form solids. I've still yet to figure out how they do that. It's a thing I've not figured out yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense in the heliocentric religion.
Like moon rocks, right, P?
Let's not go to the moon rock.
Moon rocks aren't nonsense.
It's Stockholm syndrome, where you get abused and then start defending your abuser. You know they've lied, P.
Yes.
And they've been proven liars. Why would you trust them, especially in this regard when it comes to moon rocks?
I don't trust them, but the evidence says that they have moon rocks, so I have to go with the evidence.
But it's the other way around, though, isn't it? The evidence says they don't have moon rocks.
They have fossilized moon rocks, even.
No, the evidence shows that they have petrified wood.
Yeah. It's the old moon forest.
So let's just say, Pete, right, that you're acquiring gold, and you go into a shop that sells gold, and they've got all these gold rings lined up in the display cases, and you go in and you say, I want to buy gold, and they go, we only sell them in these rings. You go, okay, fine, I'll have 3 of them. Yeah. Now, you take those 3 and you put them in various different places in the house, and then one day you decide to go and test one of them. So you go and test one of the rings, and you find out that it's not gold, it's copper, and they've cheated you. Yeah. Now you go back into the shop, and you're now in this scenario going to go back into the shop and go, but they say the rest of them are all gold. That's NASA. So they present all these moon rocks like the gold rings, and everyone buys it. Yeah, great, moon rocks come from the moon. And then somebody goes and tests one of them, shows that it's not a moon rock, it's petrified wood. And you're saying, I'm prepared to go back into the shop and buy the gold rings again. So you're still buying it, you're buying their story still, in the face of it being proven wrong. Schmuck.
Yeah, well, someone has tested some gold rings that came up to actually be gold. So, I mean, I would trust that they are gold, the ones that were tested to be gold.
Okay, I didn't know this part of the story. So who's tested what now?
The reason I believe in moon rocks is I read an article by a geologist who claimed he tested some moon rocks, and he said that it'd be impossible to fake it because they were created in an environment that had no water, oxygen, or gravity, or low gravity.
This got covered the other day. So was it? Who was the? It was one of the famous Masons that goes into a lot of flat Earth stories. Apparently, went to Antarctica and gathered up some moon rocks. P. So that part of the story doesn't hold water either.
Yeah, I remember.
Werner von Braun.
Knew it. NASA man himself went and got them before they went to the moon, P. From Earth.
Yeah, so how did he know what the moon rocks look like if they had never gone there?
Hold on, I have a very, very silly, but maybe it would work out for NASA, a story as to how a petrified wood could supposedly come from the moon with the current available data. What do you think, guys?
Well, there is a theory, and I've heard this before, like they've said they found stuff on Mars. They said a meteorite struck the Earth knocked the debris up into the space, and it landed on Mars. So I guess if a meteor hit the Earth hard enough, it could throw some petrified wood up into the sky, and then it just happened to land exactly the same spot where the astronauts were at, and they found it. So that sounds plausible to me. That's
Well,
reasonable,
my
isn't it?
theory is different, though. I was thinking, look, the atmosphere supposedly of the Earth now is proven to be within the moon's reach, right? So technically, at some point, some kind of storm could have originally made plant life on Earth actually seed on the moon, and before the moon might have been all forest covered before they did find moon and water under the surface, right? So maybe in the past the atmosphere was richer, enabling life to be on the moon, plant life at least.
Is this Narnia or the moon?
That was a stretch.
Well, come on, guys,
That was a
right?
stretch.
That's possible, right?
No.
I'm more interested in P because he's defending a cheat and liar.
Hey, Arwen, that would be a would-be scenario.
Well,
Sorry, I just love science fiction. I can't help it.
We'll just
So
get
Pete,
P's
this
answer and then we'll
meteorite
move
that
on
you
to
believe
Anthony.
in, who observed it, and what crater did it create, and where exactly did it hit Earth?
I guess the moon rocks don't necessarily even prove we went to the moon, because they do. I'm reading now that they do find them in Antarctica, so it could just be taken from those samples.
Yeah, we told them yesterday. We told you that yesterday.
Maybe they're just Antarctic rocks. They're calling moon rocks.
They'd have to deny gravity if they say the pieces of wood went into space.
What space? Second law of thermodynamics violation. Oh, they definitely didn't go there to get them. Anthony,
Hey, have you just taken your meds? Because you seem to be getting better again now.
who, P or me?
P.
No reply.
I'm on drugs.
I'm sure you're not.
You're back on the meds. Good boy.
Anthony,
Stay that way.
Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yep.
Need me to present you.
Yes, please.
You're up.
Right, again, for this is going to have to be aimed directly at Arwen. Just Arwen, for the love of God, let me get through this, and then you will get the right to respond. Okay? I don't want to be interrupted while I'm presenting, because what happened yesterday is somebody specifically missed a point that I specifically made.
I know. But just get on with it. I'll shut up.
How about mute yourself first, Arwen?
Let's not. He's just conceded, but he was perfectly conciliatory then. I don't doubt for a second that he won't interrupt. He'll be good. It's okay.
I do.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, you're up. You're presented.
I can still kick you, you know.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
Yesterday's show, we dealt with the notion of gravity and whether it's a force or not. And I made numerous points and qualified it. Now, I've had some critical feedback from somebody that I respect. I'm not going to say who, because I didn't ask whether I could reveal his name or not. But this is what he said to me. He said, please rewatch Bob's point about acceleration and address tomorrow. I tuned into the debates early this morning, especially to hear mine and Nathan's take on it, and I felt that you both failed to address the point. I didn't. The point's been missed. I'll remake the point and I'll show why it's been addressed while I'm doing it. Bob is saying that there is an acceleration. What he means to say is Bob is saying that there is a force. I'm not saying that is or isn't, but I do see his point, and I felt that nobody, you, Nathan, or Arwen, addressed his point at all. I agreed with what you said about Bob's point I agreed with what you said, but Bob's point is very specific to acceleration. If it's simply relative density, which is my belief as of today, then why do things accelerate down and not up? Please cover this tomorrow. I will try to listen in. So, right at the beginning of the presentation yesterday, I gave the definition of and explained fully vector. Vector, as it's stated on screen, is a quantity having direction as well as magnitude. And then in the bit in blue, that's the important bit, especially is determining the position of one point in space relative to another. This is the point that's been missed. This is the point that I did point at Bob and say perhaps he's forgotten this. But in the egg scenario, the vector is created by the medium and the egg itself, and it's the relative densities of both. Now, I've highlighted Nora's comment, and I'm going to state on the record again that, in my opinion, Nora is disinfo on this topic, because Nora is not just disagreeing with me, she's literally going against scientific method. Ballers ignore scientific method. Nora is literally rejecting it and arguing something else. The problem is, Mark and Arwin, and I know he's going to jump on me, but bear with me, both support this, and Bob agrees with them. But it's one thing to ignore scientific method, but it's a whole new ball game to go against it, because you're redefining the thing that is defined as science. So Nora says, here's Sleeping Warrior talking about vectors when he doesn't believe in up and down. Do I sense a contradiction? No, there's no contradiction, because the bit in blue specifically states that it's relative, especially as determining the position of one point in space relative to another. So to address Nora's point, no, there's no contradiction, because I'm specifically dealing with relativity. Okay, it's relative density, relative to each other. So there's no contradiction there, Nora. Second point, whilst having the definition of force on screen, Nora puts this comment. Riley thinks because he thinks we cannot observe the effect of an unknown force. So far, we cannot manipulate. He equates cause with that which one manipulates. Fallacy of false cause. Well, if we manipulate it, according to scientific method, if we manipulate your independent variable to prove the cause of an effect, with the egg, we know that when that egg is in a state of neutral buoyancy, if there is a force there, it's the net force of 0. But my assertion is that there's no force there at all, and it's just the equality between the density of the egg equal to the density of the medium it's in. But what Nora says is, he equates cause with that which one manipulates. Well, your independent variable is the variable that is manipulated by the researcher in an experiment. It is the presumed cause. So when she says he equates cause with that which one manipulates, unfortunately, Nora, it complies with scientific method and is the cause of the effect. So on the one hand, if you're going to claim that there's a force there, then you're going to have to demonstrate that force by wiggling it. That's the reason why we have the requirement. But because we did wiggle the medium relative to the egg, that makes it the presumed cause, and then when we wiggle it, we establish it. That proves the cause and effect relationship. So it is the cause in this experiment, the manipulation of the medium. That is what caused the displacement. So if Nora or Bob or anybody else that disagrees thinks that there's a force in this thing when the thing that we manipulate is the medium, you are literally going against what scientific method states. That's worse than failing to address it in the first place by just not manipulating it. If you're going to claim that the manipulation of the medium around the egg somehow is a force, then you're literally pissing in the face of scientific method. I'm done.
Cool. Up and down and not objective directions. Shout out to Agent Dubsky.
That was just nonsense, Riley.
Can I respond being mentioned at least twice that I can remember now?
You're mumbling. Go ahead, Arwin.
Right. So, it's a good defense of the relative density theory, and I completely agree. I am not setting even in doubt that relative density is scientifically provable, where gravity is not. It's very clear to me. However, acceleration does actually take place. Within the relative
what caused
density.
it though?
No, I'm not done yet. So I'll explain it to you, right? So if you have a helium balloon in regular air on ground level, you let it go, you know what's going to happen to the balloon? From a standstill point, it will start to accelerate upwards. So it's found certain friction versus relative density displacement level, and then go in a steady speed from there on. But it will start out accelerating, just as when you drop a brick, it will go to its equilibrium point within the relative density spectrum at an acceleration rate. Now, I'm not claiming that there is an ever force field like gravity present doing that. I'm attributing it to relative density itself. It is the density that does the acceleration when it is brought out of its equilibrium point in relation to the spectrum of all matter. That's how I
want
to ask you a couple of questions.
It is relative density.
It is relative density, Arwin. Is that what you're saying?
Relative density is the cause of the force.
You know what, Anthony?
Is caused by the relative density.
That's over the course of about the last 6 months. Arwin has very slowly shed his claim that was like Mark and Nora's and Bob's. Although I've not heard Bob's firsthand, but you're attributing them, and I'll take your word for it. I'm sure it's correct. Anyway,
I've embraced
hold on, Arwin, I'm about to praise you. Over the course of 6 months, Arwin has very slowly relinquished that idea, and in his last statement, he basically agrees with you 100%.
Sort of. I agree, yes, relative density. It is the foundation. You do not need directions to prove it, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that there's not a force at play as part of the...
It does.
No, it doesn't. There's still an acceleration.
Let me ask you 3 or 4 closed questions that require. Like, I'm going to ask you if you agree with me or not. So the answers are yes or no's. Okay. You agree that when the egg's sat in that state where it's neither moving up nor down, it is in a state of equilibrium. Correct?
Yeah, within. Well, sort of, because it has its maneuvering.
Come on, don't be a weasel.
And because of the limitation, it is at the equilibrium point it can get.
That's a yes.
Yeah, it is a yes. So, Arwin, if it's in a state where it's in equilibrium, that means there's 2 possible scenarios. The first scenario is that there is a force, but it's being equaled out by something and it's in a state of neutrality. Or alternatively, there is no force and it's relative density, and that is the state that we're observing. Do you agree with that sentence?
No, not really.
Oh, you
but
bastard.
I think I get what you're saying.
Just accept that he's crapped all over your point.
No. Let's get closure. I want closure.
No, there's still the acceleration taking place.
There's 2 interpretations. Do you agree? There's either a
cause.
force and it's a net force of 0, or there's no force and it's relative density. Do you agree with that?
So what you're literally claiming is that because of relative density, acceleration being visibly taking place for whatever cause.
No, listen to my words. Listen to my words.
Within the relative density, it is not a force. It's the only exception to a visual acceleration that is not caused by a force. That's what you're claiming.
Okay, now let him respond though. We heard you twice.
It's a yes, no, Arwin. And let me make it shorter so it's more concise. If there is a force, it is a net force of 0. Do you agree or not?
Only when it's in a state of rest.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Whilst it's in a state of rest.
If it's found its equilibrium point, yes. As soon as it's no longer at an equilibrium
point. Okay, so
no.
let's just be clear. If there is a force, the force is equaled by all the other variables, and it's at rest. Agreed?
We're not talking about the same argument here. You're constantly trying to get on what Bob and Nora are saying, that there is an ever-present force constantly. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying there's an ever force present.
So why aren't you agreeing with me then? If there is a force and it's not moving, it's a net force of 0.
I'm just saying there is still force at play.
Of 0, right? It's net. It's a net force of 0.
Only
Agreed?
in a state of equilibrium. As soon as it's not in a state of equilibrium, then
that's what he's asking you, Arwin. That's what he's asking
come
you.
into being in a state of disequilibrium.
Stop rumpusing. It's a yes/no question. If it's a force, it's got a net force of 0. Yes?
In a state of equilibrium, yes.
Correct. Right, thank you. Now, next point. If we're going to make something move, because we believe that there's either a force there or there's not a force there, your position is that it's a force. My position is that it's relative density causing it. If you agree scientific method prevails, then the presumed cause in an experiment is the thing that the observer manipulates. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I'm not arguing that. Why are you recycling all this shit over me?
I'm not saying you are. I'm just trying to get to the point.
Hold on. I'm just trying to get to the point. Don't get annoyed. Don't get annoyed. Arwin.
There's
two reasons. One, because previously you've been a contrarian in this regard, so don't get stroppy about it. And if you don't agree and now agree with Anthony, just side with him. Just just reiterate the point with him instead of getting annoyed.
I'm just trying to progress the point, Arwin, to the point where we disagree.
No, but I have another point. There is still a force there.
Right, we're getting to it. We're getting to it.
It manifests.
Do you agree in scientific method, Arwin, that if you're going to manipulate something in an experiment, that is your presumed cause? That's your independent variable. Do you agree with that?
It's not a part of the experiment.
Yeah, do you agree then? Yes or no?
It's not a part of the experiment. It's a red herring.
No, it is, because you're going to claim force. I'm going to claim relative density, and I'm going. There is a manipulation of something.
Experiment. A force is not part of the experiment. It's not part of the experiment. How many times
mass.
do I have to say it?
Force is an accelerating mass, isn't it, Arwin?
Hold on, he's getting annoyed and saying the same thing over and over again. Frustrating for everyone watching and listening. Arwin. Okay, if there is no force in the experiment, why does the egg move? Is it because the medium is changing?
I was just going to ask him that.
That's my point.
There is a force. Oh, sorry, misspoke there. There is a relative density disequilibrium manifesting due to materials being added, the density changing, and thus a disequilibrium in the object, the egg in this case, manifests, and it suddenly, from a standstill point, starts to accelerate to its new relative density equilibrium point.
Perfect.
Until it then stands still again.
Perfect.
I hear that. Listen, Arwin, it's clear. If there's a force, we're going to manipulate the force. In my position, it's not a force, it's a manipulation of the density, and we're going to manipulate something. But if you agree with scientific method, and this isn't the only citation, there are numerous ones to do this, but this is just one. If you agree that the manipulated variable in a scientific experiment is the presumed cause, do you agree with that bit?
Yes,
you don't
and
need
I
to.
already stated.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't need a concession. No need.
Experiment.
No need.
Please
He's just getting his point to have punctuation by you saying yes. That's all he needs.
Yeah,
and then the next point is
something out of this too. Okay.
God.
Arwin, if we didn't manipulate the force, but we did manipulate the the medium, then that is the cause of the displacement. The cause is not a force. The cause was the manipulation of the medium.
Yes.
Nothing to do with it. It's not. There is still a force taking place because there is acceleration. It's just not gravity.
But we didn't manipulate any force, though, did we? If it was a force that
because
you're going to claim,
it's not relevant to the experiment.
Yeah, so it's not a force.
So then it's not relevant at all. Then
there's no force, only medium change.
It's not relevant to the relative density theory, but that doesn't mean that there's no force taking place. Neither does it
But that
actually
doesn't mean that
explain
there
the
is
gradient.
Arwin, that's the problem. It doesn't mean that there is a force either.
Double
I'm just
speaking.
saying there is force taking
I don't
place.
get it. Why are you double speaking, Asarwin?
Not double speaking.
Yeah, you are.
No, it's not. I'm just pointing at other things that are also
Let me just point out where it's double speak. So you're saying no force involved, it's a medium change. That's what causes the acceleration. Everyone agrees, and you say, but there is a force there.
Right. So
well, that's double speak.
Let me rephrase it. Let me give you another example to try and show you what I'm dealing with here. Okay, and why it is not relevant. So in the experiment, you could say, oh, look, there's actually sunlight shining there in the experiment. Ooh, right? So it's not really relevant in a direct sense to the relative density theory. It might be an extra variable that you could account for, but it hasn't to do with the experiment, and neither has the conclusion that there are forces taking place as soon as something accelerates. It's a conclusion. It's not part of the experiment to prove relative density. That still stands.
Arwin, what force moves the egg?
It's just nonsense, double speaking word salad.
The displacement
I don't
caused
get it.
by the relative density.
I commended you. Yeah, go on.
Yes. The displacement caused by the relative density. That is the force. That's it.
No,
yes.
That's the cause. The cause.
The experiment. Yes.
But isn't that displacement caused by changing the medium, Arwin?
Based on the concept.
Changing the density of the medium Changing the density of the medium is what caused the egg to move, right?
Yes, that's right. The force is not the cause. It's just a side effect. That's all.
So changing the medium is what causes the force to change.
Yes, that's
hang on,
right.
hang on.
That's
I've got
why
it,
the
I've got it.
relative density experiment is solid. It works.
I've got it. So what you're saying, Arwin, is because the egg moved, when you said it was a side effect, it was an effect, right? Did you mean that you're inferring that there's a cause there because it moved?
No, I'm just seeing that something is accelerating as soon as it comes out of equilibrium in the relative
Well,
density spectrum.
caused it was the change in the
Acceleration takes
medium,
place,
right?
That's all.
We know that. We know what caused it, though. It was the change in the medium, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So when we change the medium and it makes the egg move, and that's the cause, then it's that thing that makes it move, right? If you're going to infer or you're going to say that it's a side effect or whatever it was that you worded it, you're adding something to it that isn't part of the test, right?
Indeed.
Well, there's no need.
Right. So that requires evidence to support the assertion.
Well, the evidence is self-evident. There is acceleration taking place.
The self-evident
Measurably so.
evidence is Arwin, the self-evident evidence is accounted for by the manipulation of the medium that we did.
It's not part of the experiment.
It was.
Just going around in circles.
It's just
I don't
an
get this.
observation.
I don't get this.
Can I ask a question?
Arwin, you're doing a
Arwin.
Brenda. You're doing a Brenda. Going round and round and round in circles.
Nathan, can I ask Arwin a question?
Just let it be then.
Because this is the tail end of 6 months of you claiming that it is a force, then it's an aberration, now you're saying it is the relative density. Well, okay, if this is the death throes of your claiming there's a force of gravity, then great.
No,
Let it
it's
die.
not.
Can I ask a question?
No
Go ahead,
gravity.
10th man.
There's no force field doing that. It's not
Arwin,
the same theory.
10th man's got a question for you.
Arwin, when the egg is at equilibrium, like Sleeping Warrior showed yesterday from Phuket, the force is still, or there's nothing happening. It's just standing still there in the middle of the jug of water. When he manipulates and it moves, are you calling the movement the force because it's adjusting? What are you calling the force? Because if
yes, no, I do actually.
Okay,
The motion and how it actually can be analyzed is in accelerating fashion. It's logical. It's all motion.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so, but until it was manipulated, there was no force. So the manipulation caused the movement, right?
Sure, yeah.
You're calling
the medium change.
Right. So
the
you're
relative density, this equilibrium, you could roughly, and this almost gets mathematical.
I got it.
Arwin, he's probably got an ancillary point. Arwin,
force.
he doesn't need endless confirmation with you reiterating the point 5 more times. He's got an ancillary point that he wants to make.
Thank you. So if no manipulation is made, the egg stays right where it's at, and there's no force supply. When you make a manipulation to figure out the cause of a future movement, you're changing something. So he adds regular water, or he adds more salt water, and it changes. You're calling the change a force. Is that correct?
No, not directly. What I'm saying.
So then how does it move?
That change causes a force.
Okay, so what causes the movement?
Okay.
That to you looks like acceleration.
No, it's measurably acceleration. It follows the
right, but what caused that measured acceleration? What caused it? If you never touched it, it'd just be sitting there in the middle, right?
Well, technically, relative density doesn't change without external effects. So
no, that's
be
my
wind
point.
or atmospherical or man-made.
That's my point.
No,
that's my point. Until you alter or manipulate the medium around it, it will just stay where it's at, correct?
Right.
Okay, so then when you alter it and manipulate it to see what happens, you're calling that what?
Well, you cause a relative density disequilibrium, and that seems to be causing a force disequilibrium within the relative density object, let's just call it, or thing within its medium.
So you're saying that the movement that we see with our eyes is an additional force other than changing the medium?
No.
Well,
The
then,
medium change is the cause of the force that causes the displacement.
so adding salt water is force?
No.
Well, that changed it.
Yeah, but the change is not directly related to the type of material. It's only related to the density.
Yeah.
To the
Right,
relative
so that's
density
what-
of the medium.
that's
But
what
it's not
sleeping-
just relative density, it's the relative density of the medium in relation to the object. That is
Right, but
the
that's what he's
discipline.
saying. But that's what Sleeping Warrior is saying.
Yeah. So am I. I have been for the last half hour.
Okay, great.
No, but what it sounds
Much
like you're
more.
saying, what it sounds like what you're saying is there's an additional byproduct.
Yeah, that is what he's saying.
It's a building block. It's just another part of it.
Yeah, but all you're doing is examining what you see with your eyes and calling it something when it's really what Sleeping Warrior is saying. There's no additional force.
Okay, well, can you describe other processes beside the relative density theory as you conceptualize it out there in physics or anything that can actually attribute something else than force causing acceleration?
Yeah, that's the byproduct. That's Anthony's point, that the byproduct is the movement, but the thing that's actually been varied is the relative density. So therein lies your cause. Your point that I would agree with you towards the end there, though, Arwin, was that man's causing it. You're changing the relative density. You're actually attributing that change to see what is causing things to rest where they lay. In other words, you're establishing what causes equilibrium. And the globe heads and some flat earthers want to attribute a downward acceleration when in reality things have a tendency towards equilibrium. So all things are trying to find their resting place. Not all things are trying to go down. Not all things have got a force pulling them. But things are trying to find their equilibrium at all times. So it's in line with entropy. You know, things are trying to find equilibrium. It's just as simple as that. And with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of our debating panel. But if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Also, massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum at nathanoakley.com. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Or I could just snipe you because you're a dickhead and you porn bomb me. So I'm gonna do that. Goodbye.
How do you know he porn bombed you?
You should. I witnessed it. You should snipe him. He shouldn't be on this show.
So what was the score? You never told me about this, Arwin.
No, you did. I didn't.
No, you never told me.
It was it Saturday or no? It was Sunday. I did the first hour. He joined and immediately porn bombed me. I managed to delete the show before it published, so I didn't get a strike for it. And I immediately started a new hangout after that.
Yeah, that's how I've got around it when it's happened to me. Immediately shut the show down, immediately go into the video, and immediately delete it before anybody can fill out the form to copyright strike you or whatever it's called, community guidelines strike you. So yeah, you did the right thing. As soon as it happens, shut it down, delete it immediately.
Yeah, it was 1 hour gone, but yeah, not too much lost. So.
Well, at least you got away with it. Dodge the bullet, so to speak. Because you're running on OBS, they can't take control of the Hangout to do that. Because obviously the poor suckers that watch yours and mine and various other shows that run with this format, they go, oh, that's easy. And then they set up a Hangout and give out the link. And it's like Porn Bomber will come along, kick you out your own Hangout, and then play porn for 5 minutes, giving the audience loads of time to create community guideline strikes and get your channel taken down.
We having a second show, Nath?
We are, yes.
Cool.
Hooray.
I used to come on the shows and say the N-word over and over and over again. That's what he was trying to do.
Honest to God, he's not even here for the shape of
He
the
just
earth.
did it yesterday, P. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this guy.
Where?
P. Mars just said the N-word yesterday on the
When?
show.
Where?
Yesterday. Here.
Why do you
I
moderate your
must have
language?
missed that.
That's an interesting thing you just said. You said the N-word. Why do you say that?
I like it.
Because it's a trick.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I don't want to offend anybody.
But why
I
would
don't
it?
like that
Why?
word.
It's contextual though, isn't it? If
Oh,
I
hold
Yeah,
on.
sure.
No, but that's racial. No, I agree. Nobody should use the actual N word. Anybody.
Yeah, just
why not?
No black
yeah.
person, no white person. It's a stupid word. It's a derogatory. I think it's retarded that it's been normalized.
But literally, in this context, we're referring to someone who has used it in a hateful context. But rather than using the word, we're paraphrasing and censoring ourselves, rather than saying P. Mars came on and said nigger over and over again. Now, I'm not in any way attributing any hate by detailing or quoting somebody else who's used the word. Why would we self-censor? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, but you glorify his behaviour.
I'm not glorifying it. I'm literally accurately detailing the word he used. I'm not glorifying it.
Indirectly, you are
The
glorifying
way
it.
I see it is because
hold on.
I've literally been called that by PMARS, so I don't choose to stoop to his piece of shit level and use the same word that he did. So that's just me. I have no problem with it. It doesn't offend me. I don't take anything personal, so I laugh at that. But to me, I don't need to use it after he's using it. You know what I mean?
So what
That's
you're saying
just
is
my opinion.
But
You're
it's
saying
just a word, isn't it? It's not aimed at anyone. It's
in
just,
this instance, it's not.
just a word, isn't it?
Well, no, that's the point. It's not. It's being used with venom and hatred when it's directed at chocolate by P. Mars. Therefore, I see what you mean by secondary glorification now, Anthony. I see. So what you're saying is rather than saying, well, I'll just use the weapon in reference to you, I'd rather not. I'll what's the word? I'll rise above it, right, chocolate?
Exactly.
No, fair enough. That makes sense.
Totally agree with that.
I just
Like,
heard
even though I've been called it by him numerous times, I've never called him a honky or a cracker or a white boy or anything like that. Because I don't need to go there. You know what I mean?
When it was used, was it used in its proper context?
Yeah, P. Mars is using it in a racial slur context. Therefore, why bother seeping to his level and calling him a cracker?
Oh, so it was misused.
Was that Rebel talking?
Yeah, that was Rebel.
So it's still a bit quiet. Oh, did you drop and rejoin?
Yeah, I dropped and rejoined.
Who else has their volume adjusted? Billy, can we hear you, Warren?
I have 1, 2, 3. Billy here.
Paul also. It's people dropping.
Chocolate. Does that mean you're black?
Of course he's black.
I'm here.
Chocolate saying.
Yes, sir.
What?
Chocolate
You can't
saying.
hear
It's
that?
obvious.
That's not a secret on this show anymore.
I know. I call you Barry, don't I? I'm only messing.
Barry White.
Yeah.
Barry White. Yep.
You're not Barry today, though, are you?
Nah.
You're not using the right mic, are you?
I got a Bluetooth on. So.
What did you make of the two Glowbeds performances? Repeating themselves over and over again.
They were trolling you.
So therefore, right move to kick him out then.
Yeah, they were deliberately coming in to antagonise you. What they're trying to do, Nathan, is they're trying to glorify Jose's show by triggering you and making you come across as the arsehole that we all know and love about you. The case. They're trying to push you into being an arsehole so that Jose comes across smelling of roses.
Well,
just kick him out sooner next time.
Well,
and I'm totally going with it because
well,
whenever I think
isn't it
Nathan
more
treats me like a dick, I do go to Jose. So
the tact I took was to let them expose themselves as circle jerking assholes 6 times and then kick them out. In other words, there's not a reasonable person in the audience that would say, "Oh no, that was totally unfair that you didn't let them make their point 6 times." Well, no, they made their point. It was obliterated, and then they made the exact point again. You're like, well, how much of that should you tolerate? Should you have 40 minutes of them making the same point, you demolishing it, and then they're making the same point again? Over and over again?
No way.
That.
Tony, have you done a show that highlights the 1 in 50 millionth and the trillionth?
Don't encourage him.
I regularly cite that. I have done a couple of shows on it, yeah.
That gets him a lot of stick. That gets him a lot of grief from me and John.
That gets Tony a lot of grief.
Yeah, begging the question for him, basically.
Yeah.
No, but I like using it because they say that if you release something in the air, an object like a pen or something, if you release it, they think it'll just float in the air because if there's no gravity,
Do you have the documents that support the assertion?
Yeah.
So you're all right then. There's nothing they can come back with you. It's not your fault that Cavendish quantified a force that was now antiquated science by 1920 that everybody else still believes in. It's the way it is. It's just, that's the story.
Yeah, but it's just amazing that when you ask people, if I release an object out of my hand, what will happen if there's no gravity? And they say, oh, it'll float in the air, it'll just stay there. And you say, well, yeah, but so it loses all its mass because of gravity's going. And I was having a discussion on one of these flat Earth groups saying, well, what happens if you take away the gravity? And they seem to think that gravity. Oh, he said gravity is mass. I'm trying to find what he actually said. I asked him because I asked him the question. So I'm just looking for it now. I said, what are you saying is the cause of gravity? He said mass. So he's saying the cause of gravity is mass. So I said, well, if you have a 10 kilogram block of lead, what amount of gravity is accredited to the block? And globers all think that it is all accredited to gravity. If you release it, it will just float there instead of dropping, but dropping at a less speed than if the gravity was there.
Nah, gravity is just an assumption.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm trying to explain to globers that if you take gravity away, it will still drop, but they seem to think it'll float there.
So without any account for density, buoyancy, or the medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're assuming something that can never be in the first place.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice to point that out to them, and hopefully they might think, well, "Hang on, if everything isn't gravity, if it only accounts for a small part of it, then who's to say it is actually real then?"
I don't know. Look, they're both
that's my
trees.
point. I mean,
of
that 50
thinking,
millionth
both
to one,
structures,
and
but
then parts in a trillion kills the idea of gravity. But when you're at, the problem is a lot of the ballers have this concept of gravity is the whole of the thing that's falling. And the minute they start arguing that, you know that you're starting at like literally green level, like level 1 newbie on the baller, the new to the, and it's just not even worth talking to them, in my opinion.
Yeah, but 99% of them are newbies.
Look,
I think something to consider. That's okay. I said something to consider about gravity, though. I mean, they only need it for the stellar objects. That's the only reason they try to make this manufactured system.
Paul.
It's only for stellar objects. They don't do it for ground-based things. It's only for the sun, the moon, the stars.
It's to give
all
a
that stuff.
reason. Yep, it's to give a reason as to why the moon is orbiting the Earth and why we're orbiting the sun, why all the things up there are moving. That's their explanation. That holds everything together. It's bullshit.
Oh, they need that definitely for that, but they do use it though in models and architecture. But it's basically
Good for their
just
models.
Yeah, it's just a technical replacement for relative density. Very obvious.
But people don't see the doublespeak. The same force that makes my pen drop to the floor is the same force that keeps the moon in the sky. There's not a contradiction there, guys.
They're not just perpetually falling around the Earth, just like satellites.
It's been so.
I was applauded for actually understanding that the other day by Ruif, I think. How that supposedly works. It's perpetually falling around the Earth.
Yeah, well, Ruhif thinks people went to the moon, so.
So if they believe everything would just float without the existence of gravity, we're talking just gravity on Earth or gravity, the moon's gravity as well.
No, but
Because
what
if
they're
that's the-
saying, it's not really floating; it's falling around the Earth.
Well, I think is if the Earth's gravity does not exist, but the moon gravity does, and the tides are affected by the moon's gravity, then that means that if there's no Earth gravity, then all of the water should float to the moon, correct?
And with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you joining us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. Hopefully for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!